Hey, and welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about Blood Feast, a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie from 1963. Herschel Gordon Lewis is the Godfather of Gore, and this movie was my introduction to him. I plan on binging a bunch more of his movies fairly soon, hopefully, but for now I'm just going to be talking about Blood Feast. I think I'd have a hard time recommending this movie to somebody. I feel like a dipshit saying this, but it's not true cinema. Fuck. I try to avoid saying things like that. I swear I'm not too far up my own ass when it comes to talking about movies. I just love talking about movies. But Joe Bob Briggs, I watched an interview with him recently that was on Cinemassacre, where he says that Herschel Gordon Lewis wasn't a filmmaker, he was a marketer or a businessman or something, and he couldn't even pull off camera techniques that were invented in the 1920s. And I can see what he means. This movie isn't a cinematic masterpiece. It's not that great a movie. I mean, it has actors that were in Mouse in the Hands of Fate. To me, that tells you everything you need to know. That being said, I do think this movie has an appeal, and I actually had a lot of fun watching it. I think this is the perfect kind of having a beer with your friends kind of movie, having a couple drinks with your buds. I watched it with myself and one roommate, and when stuff kind of pops off, we were having a laugh, we were enjoying it. I don't know how we felt about the rest of the movie. I personally was pretty engaged. It gets a little slow at times, and there are moments where you kind of check out a bit, but when certain things happen, it gets entertaining. Minor spoilers ahead just to let you know. It's a 50-plus-year-old movie, so I'm not too worried about spoilers, but I'm not going to ruin the movie for you. The final chase is hilarious. We were yelling at the TV like, how have they not caught this guy yet? The gore in this movie is primitive. It's definitely not as extreme as stuff you'd see in modern horror films. Herschel Gordon Lewis paved the way from a lot of these modern graphic horror films, but it definitely feels tamer in comparison. Tame in the actual visual content, but there's something real grimy about it. It feels exploitative, like, you know, it has that exploitation film feel, and I love the look of the blood. As much as I do enjoy realistic practical effects and realistic gore in films, I think that can be very effective. I also have a huge soft spot for the real crimson bright red blood that was very prominent in both giallo films, or films like Dawn of the Dead, or just horror movies in general from the 60s and 70s. I love that bright red blood. So yeah, Blood Feast. It was a fun watch. I do not regret watching it. I would recommend it to very hardcore horror fans or people that kind of like, I guess, kind of weird oddball movies. I don't know why I'm making this comparison in my head. I don't actually think, you know, what I'm really thinking about is like, what are the similarities here? I haven't really dove into this thought process, but for some reason I kind of had a similar feeling I get when watching a John Waters movie. Not sure where that's coming from. Maybe I'll come to that realization later and share that, but there's something in me that has that this is kind of like a John Waters movie experience kind of feel. Blood Feast, directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis. I'm going to give it two separate ratings here. First on this channel, I'm going to give it an 8 body parts out of 10 on the cheesy horror movie scale, and on the true Kino scale, I'm gonna give it like a 5.5 or a 6. It does get really slow at times, and despite the fact that I enjoyed it, and I think people like me would enjoy it, it does really slow down at times. You're kind of in between the scenes that are entertaining, you're kind of like pulling hairs, and the soundtrack's not great. Performances aren't great, but that's part of the experience. But if you're not into these kind of movies, I don't think I could recommend it. Really, this is for a niche audience. Thanks for watching this review. Join me next time.